PM, let's move on to talking about the economy now.
Yes.
So managing the competing demands of continuing our economic growth, as well as having these political considerations
Yes.
vis-a-vis foreign talent.
Yes.
And the fact that here in Singapore, there are continually anxieties among some Singaporeans about this. And government is having to reassure Singaporeans about it.
Yes.
How have you managed to approach this in a way that supported the principles that you have?
We have to do our best to generate political space for us in order to feel our way forward and go as far as politically can be supported. Let me explain what I mean. I think the concerns which people have about foreigners, about dilution, about values, about social impact, these are not unreasonable concerns. Because we are a society, we are a country. It's not just a city, you know. London, you have the whole of Great Britain. So London, you don't have to mobilize an army and go and fight. There is a whole population which is outside of London, and London is cosmopolitan, diverse, it can have a majority of foreigners. It's still the capital of Great Britain. But Singapore, the city, is the country. So the city itself, the cohesion must be there, the sense of the values must be there, the sense of identity must be there. The way Singapore works, there's a certain way we have socialized with one another. We are Singaporeans together, as the song goes. When you bring in foreigners, that in some ways you enrich that. In many ways you enrich that. They bring talent, they bring experience, they bring a different perspective on things. But at the same time, you dilute that, at least temporarily, because they don't have the same background. You can come from China, but you're not the Singaporean Chinese. You can come from India, but you're not the Singaporean Indian. And there's a difference between a Singaporean Chinese and a Chinese Chinese, and a Singaporean Indian and an Indian Indian. And I told one foreign leader this once, and he looked at me in puzzlement, and he turned to his interpreter and said, "What is this Chinese Chinese, Indian Indian?" I don't know what his interpreter said, but I gave him a further elaboration just in case the interpreter didn't convey my meaning. But you know what I mean, and it's a real concern. On the other hand, we need the economy to grow. We need talent to develop new things in Singapore, to stand out in the world. And you can never have enough talent. We need bodies, because there are jobs which there are no Singaporeans available to do, like construction. And there are also other jobs where there are Singaporeans available to do, but you won't have enough. And you need more, and if I can have 10% or 20% more engineers or technicians or healthcare workers, I can do a lot more things. You can say, I'll be more productive, but I can't take away 10% of people and become 10% smarter and faster just on my own. So I do need the bodies. So how do I reconcile these two? If you look at a country like UAE, their answer is, well, I just bring in as many as I want. I have oil. I use the oil basically to take care of my resident population, and I run the economy, and everything is done by, practically everything is done by people who come from all over the world. But Singapore cannot run like that. So we've got to keep on bringing in talent, keep on bringing in numbers, but in a controlled way, which is good for our economy, which complements Singaporean workers and professionals rather than puts them out of a job. And at the same time, which doesn't dilute my social norms and mores and the way Singapore works and cause frictions and conflict within Singapore. It's partly educating the people who come here that this is Singapore, please respect Singapore norms, and some things you can do in your home country, please have a care and don't do them like that here. And They may not become Singaporeans straight away, but yeah, you know that you are a guest and, well, be a good guest. On the other side, it's also on our part getting Singaporeans to understand how important it is for them to come in, for them to be here, and being able to make accommodations and make that effort to reach out with your hands and say, welcome, I'm your neighbor, I'm a Singaporean. If you need any help, please let me know and let me show you around. And then hopefully you won't bump into so many things as you go around Singapore and break them.
You're right, PM. The need for foreign talent is not unique to Singapore. It occurs around the world.
Yeah.
Do you think that there may ever come a time when we need to calibrate the way that we think about this, even as we keep these principles of our open economy alive?
We have been calibrating it already. I mean, you cannot go on and just open your doors and anybody who wants to come can come. Millions want to come, literally, and we'll be swamped. So we have to manage it. At the low end, we've got foreign worker quotas, we've got foreign worker levies, a very complex system, and you manage by numbers. At the top end, we haven't managed by numbers, but we manage by qualifications and what sort of jobs you're doing. And so we have the employment pass mechanisms, and we adjust the salary threshold, and we adjust that progressively so that it's comparable to Singapore salaries and they come in at the appropriate level. And even that is not quite enough. So last year or the year before, we introduced a compass system for EP holders. So there's a point system. What is your industry? What is your qualification? The particular company you're in, does it have a good diversification of foreign employees or not? So it's not a company where 90% of the people have come from a single source. And hopefully we will have a more diversified and more easily integrated foreign population. And therefore we can accommodate a few more. We'll have to see how it's working, how it works. It's just started, so we'll take a bit of time to know. I'm sure we'll continue refining it. But we have to keep on doing these things and adjusting as we go along. That's why I said, feel our way forward. You can't be on autopilot.